Hello, everyone. My name is Andrew.
And my name is Anna.
And you're listening to the Culips English Podcast. Hello, listeners. Welcome back to Culips. You're listening to Chatterbox, which is the Culips series designed for intermediate and advanced English learners. Here we present natural, unscripted conversations about a wide range of interesting topics, current events, or trending issues. Today, joining me as always is my co-host on Chatterbox, Anna. Hello, Anna. How's it going?
I'm wonderful, thank you, Andrew. And yourself?
I'm doing very well. I gotta say, Anna, I am very curious about today's episode because I don't really know what direction it's gonna go in. And I love that. It's got me on my toes a little bit. So I'm excited to jump in. Maybe you could share with our listeners what we'll be talking about today.
Sure. Today, what we're going to be talking about, guys, is something that I actually came across recently when I was listening to one of the biggest podcasts in the interview space. You may have heard of it. It's called Diary of a CEO. This is a podcast hosted by a guy called Steven, and he interviews a lot of really interesting people from around the world. One of the products that he's created are these conversation cards. And the premise behind it is about how can we have more meaningful conversations with people. And, maybe I would ask you, when was the last time you really sat down and you just had a really meaningful conversation with somebody? There was no phones, no screens, nothing. I feel like a lot of us have this feeling that we lack those type of interactions these days. So this was kind of the inspiration for the episode, and I wanted to bring some conversation cards to the episode today that me and Andrew can talk about, and you can also answer as well on our Discord channel.
Yeah, I love this idea, Anna. So it's kind of a way to connect, right? Connecting through conversation. And as you mentioned, I think a lot of us these days feel starved for conversation on a deeper level. You asked that question just a second ago. When was the last time that you connected with someone and really sat down and had a deep conversation? And when I think about my life, I have conversations all the time, every day. We all do, but so much of it is small talk, right? And it's really hard to get to that place where you can share on a deeper level with the people that you talk with. I think in my life, maybe it's really only with my wife that I do that on a regular basis. And so often when I do see my friends or see my colleagues or my students, it's hard to really find that place where you can connect, like I said, on a deeper level. So I think this idea is really cool. I think probably a lot of people feel the way that we do. And maybe this is why that guy has his podcast called Diary of a CEO, is because he's got these great business ideas, like selling these kind of conversation cards. It's a good idea. So we'll try it out, right? We'll try it today. We'll demo it for everyone and we'll see. Like, as I said, we're going to be on our toes a little bit here because you never know where the conversation will go, what kind of things we'll talk about, and what we'll learn about ourselves and we'll learn about each other along the way here, Anna. So we'll get to this conversation in just a moment. But before we do, everyone, I want to remind you that there is a transcript and study guide for this episode that is available to all Culips members. And guys, while you use the study guide and listen to this episode, it is really just an excellent way to improve your learning experience with us. And by becoming a Culips member, you'll also be supporting us and allowing us to continue creating English lessons for learners all around the world. Now, membership also comes with a ton of other bonuses and perks. And I heard another podcast that I listened to recently. They called this BOCO, bonus content. And I thought that was cool. BOCO. So there's a lot of extra BOCO that you get when you are a Culips member as well, such as ad-free audio and an invitation to our monthly live stream events that are members only. We also have a completely other series that is members only called the Fluency Files. And we have a member-only Discord channel, lots and lots of BOCO. So to sign up and become a Culips member today, just visit our website, culips.com, or you can follow the link that's in the description for this episode.
Lastly, we wanted to give a shout out to our listener, Ha Peggy, who left us a really nice comment and a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Peggy wrote, I've completed every episode. Wow, that's amazing. I really like to listen to the stories about Andrew's daily life, including marathons, traveling abroad, and so on. I can learn English from my daily life. I also really like Andrew's voice. Oh, there you go, Andrew. Thank you for creating the podcast and sharing these stories with us. And thank you, Peggy, for that review. It was wonderful, and we're really glad that you find the podcast useful.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. I didn't make a note here, but Peggy is listening to us from Taiwan. So that's really cool. Thank you. And thank you to all of our listeners in Taiwan, of course, and everyone out there as well who is supporting us by leaving ratings and reviews and telling your friends about Culips. All of these things really help spread the word, and we appreciate it so much. So please keep it up, and thank you again. All right. And with that being said, Anna, I think it's time for us to get started with our conversation today. And as we mentioned at the start of the episode, we are going to play a little conversation game using some cards that Anna has here prepared that are just random prompts. Is that the best way that you could describe it, Anna? Is a conversation prompt?
Yeah, so what I'm going to do is I've got some cards here that I have pre-prepared, Andrew, and they are about loads of different things. Some of them are a little bit light, some of them are fun, some of them are more reflective. So I'm going to ask you some different questions, Andrew, get your answer, we can talk about them, and then you guys as well at home, you can think about what your answer would be too. So we're going to do a little bit of a mix, Andrew. We're going to mix it up a little bit. We're going to start with something light, warm up a bit, and then we'll move into some more reflective questions. What do you think?
I love it. I do have to say that these kinds of activities always give me anxiety though, because I'm never good at thinking on my feet in the moment. And whenever, I've been in lots of language classes where I've had to do things like this. I think it's okay when you're in your second language. Sometimes you have to be creative with the answer that you give, and you can't really share your true opinion. Sometimes you have to kind of tiptoe around and find how to express yourself, knowing the vocabulary that you do know. But in a situation, maybe at university or some other groups that I've been in where you do this kind of activity, I always feel like the first answer that comes to my mind is not so good. And then later, after I've had some time to think about it, I'm always like, oh, why did I say that? I should have said this. This is how I really feel. So I'm a little bit anxious, but it'll be good. It'll be fun. Let's see how we do.
It'll be fine. And I think the key thing to remember is you don't have to give an amazing answer. It doesn't have to be anything revolutionary, just whatever pops into your head. Okay, that's the really key point. There's no pressure. It's just something fun, something light. And again, the idea behind this, guys, is that it just sparks a conversation. Maybe you ask a question, maybe it leads somewhere, maybe you find something out about somebody that you never knew. So that's why I find these types of activities so wonderful, is you can learn really interesting things about people that you maybe would never talk about in another conversation. So let's kick it off. Okay, I'm going to start with something light, a little bit silly, but let's go with it. Okay, Andrew, guys as well listening, if snow could fall in any flavor, which flavor would you choose?
If snow could fall in any flavor, what flavor would you choose? Okay, well, I'm from Canada. We get a lot of snow in Canada, and this is always a fun activity to eat the snow. I don't know. I think I still do it.
Snow cone. Is that what a snow cone is? Because I've always thought a snow cone. Is a snow cone actually made of snow? I really don't know.
No, snow cone is just shaved ice with some syrup on top. Yeah, not the greatest name for it. Okay, this is my line of thought here. When I was thinking about eating snow, my mind went to ice cream. My favorite ice cream flavor, and this is going to please many people and maybe tick some people off or upset some other people because it is a controversial ice cream flavor, but my favorite ice cream flavor is mint chocolate chip. So I would say mint chocolate chip snow would be the flavor that I would choose.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right. Difficult to clear up though. I'm thinking about snow being made of chocolate and mint. That's going to be a bit of a disaster in the cleanup process, but okay. In theory.
Here, I'm thinking that the snow is just going to taste like that, but it's still going to have all the qualities of regular snow.
Okay.
So yeah, if it's going to fall as mint chocolate chip, then no, that's terrible. I wouldn't want to shovel the driveway if it was all chocolatey.
Yeah, that sounds awful.
But if it had the flavor, it would be okay.
Great. Okay, so mint chocolate chip for you. For me, I'm very clear about this. It's going to be lemon. It's going to be lemon flavored snow. I could eat that all day because I love like lemon and citrus flavors. So for me, there's absolutely no question. It's lemon snow, and that's that.
Much healthier choice, and probably a choice that you wouldn't get sick of, right? Like,
right. Refreshing. It could always, just be like a little snack or something like this. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of chocolate unless it's in a chocolate bar. Like fake chocolate, like chocolate ice cream, chocolate milkshakes. For me, I don't know about you guys, but for me, that is not real chocolate.
Really?
It's fake chocolate. Yeah, I hate it. There you go. Controversial opinion.
We both have one. All right.
Okay. Next, I'm going to ask you a different question, Andrew.
Yep.
Now, I don't know if this is, maybe I should give a little bit of context before this question as well. In the UK, especially in the past, not so much now, but what would happen is in the morning, people, and I know this is true in America and possibly the United States and possibly Canada as well, is that people would get things like newspapers and milk delivered to their doorstep in the morning. Now, I don't know, guys, if that's something that happens in your country, but just to give you a bit of context, that has happened in the past in the places that me and Andrew have grown up. So this question is, if like the newspaper or milk, you could have anything of your choice delivered to your doorstep every morning, what particular item would you want it to be?
Wow, that's interesting. I'm trying to think of something that I use every day. I'm thinking of my morning routine here. I drink coffee every day, but I don't mind just brewing my own cup of coffee, and I kind of like the ritual. So I don't think I'm going to go with coffee. That's my morning thing. I like doing that myself. I think it would have to be some kind of product that I would use in the bathroom or the shower. So like maybe a fresh toothbrush every day, like a brand new toothbrush every day. I have a beard, so I don't shave really. You got to clean up your neck a little bit, clean up your cheeks a little bit, make sure that it looks tidy and nice. And I just use cheap disposable razor blades. And it always seems like when I'm in a rush and I need to tidy up my beard and shave it a little bit around the edges, it always seems like the disposable razor blades are empty and I have to use like some gross old one or something. So maybe like a brand new disposable razor each and every day. That would be really cool. I'd go with something like that, I think. How about you?
Okay, a little toiletries pack just delivered on your front doorstep. Okay, that would be nice and useful. Not very sustainable though, Andrew, I would have to say there. I'm just going to bring up that slightly niggling point there, but we'll forget about that for now. We'll forget about the sustainability.
Yeah. Or you know what, to go back to the newspaper thing as well, having like a newspaper every day would also be really cool. I don't know if I'd have time to read it, but would be nice. I think it's sort of sad that we've lost that tradition of having the newspaper delivered in the morning.
Yeah, I love it. I love reading. I occasionally actually buy a newspaper just to read something in paper because I also agree. It's a nice thing to do. My grandmother, for example, she's so cute. She has this little chair in her living room and a little light. And every day in the evening, she sits there with the newspaper, like one page, next, the next page, next. And she reads the newspaper from front to back every single day. It's like her little routine. It's so cute. Okay, one thing that could be delivered to my doorstep every day. I agree. Coffee is a ritual. So I also think that I would like to make that myself. But one thing I always have in the morning, guys, I don't know if you've ever tried this, is I love porridge in the morning. That is my thing. I've had it as my breakfast for years now. So I would love to have a beautiful, healthy bowl of porridge, not too hot, not too cold, blueberries, some kind of topping on it, just delivered right at the time when I have breakfast, which is about 10 a.m. That would be beautiful because I don't really enjoy making that. So yeah, I'm going to go with the porridge bowl. That would be lovely.
The porridge. All right. I like that. Kind of in the Goldilocks zone. Not too hot, not too cold. Some blueberries. Anna, could you quickly explain what porridge is? Because I think maybe some of our listeners don't know about that breakfast food.
Thank you for reminding me. Yeah, that's true. So porridge is oats. You can add milk or you can add water, then you heat it up and then it becomes like a thicker liquid. And it's a little bit like if you've ever had rice pudding. Again, maybe I would have to explain rice pudding as well, but it's that type of consistency. It's quite thick. It's oats, and it's just one of these breakfasts that's become really popular because it fills you up and it means that you don't have to eat, or you're less likely to snack before lunchtime. So it's become really popular. Some people like it. It's kind of a love or hate thing, I think. Some people like it. Some people don't like it. You can put fruit in it to kind of make it a bit more interesting, some raspberries and whatever. But it's been my breakfast, my go-to breakfast now for years. So I swear by it.
Yeah, I call it oatmeal. Is there a difference between oatmeal and porridge? I think it's essentially the same thing.
Oh my goodness, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. The way that I make it is I put it in a rice cooker, actually. In the rice cooker, I put the oats and I put water and I put fruit and I just let it cook there, like on slow cook, slow cook mode. And after 30 minutes or so, maybe it's finished. And then, yeah, it's delicious. It might be a little bit different than porridge, but I think it's pretty close. And yeah, it's very healthy, high in fiber, and a nice breakfast. Absolutely.
Wow, that is a life hack, Andrew. I think I might be stealing that. I'm going to go out and put a rice cooker in my Amazon cart, I think.
Well, a Korean household has to have a rice cooker, so I just use what we got.
Yeah, wow. I think I'm going to have to get one of those. Okay, let's move on. I'm going to ask a bit more of a reflective question, okay? What is one piece of advice, and guys, you can think about this as well. This is quite a hard question to think about, but it's an interesting one. What is one piece of advice that you wish you could pass along to everyone else?
I don't think I have an answer to that. I don't think I have something that I want to advise everybody in the world to do. In general, I think I'm not very pushy with my opinions, and I really don't think that people should conform to what I think or what I do. So I would say maybe that would be the answer. It would be follow your heart, do what you want. Go your own way, because I think, yeah, maybe that's the answer. But yeah, spend more time outside, spend time with your friends, your family, all of those things. I think something like that would be it.
It's funny, isn't it? Because there's that thing that people say a lot is we're much better at giving advice than taking advice anyway. So we always want to give advice to other people, but actually when it comes to our own lives, we don't really take our own advice sometimes, which is funny. I would say maybe, and I totally agree with you, Andrew, it's like everybody has different experiences and different lives. So it's very hard to give, people advice. And you're right, in a way, why should anybody give advice to other people? Because what position are you in? Maybe I would say, and maybe guys, you are like this. When I was younger and really throughout my whole life, I think I've wasted a lot of time worrying and being anxious about things. So I've always tended to have this worrying tendency of like, what's going to happen, and overthinking a lot. And this is one of those classic things where people are like, don't overthink. And it's like, okay, you can't tell an overthinker not to overthink. It's just too simplistic. Okay. It's like, okay, if you tell me not to overthink, I'm going to overthink more. But if there's one thing that I would say, it's that I wish I hadn't spent so much time, so much energy being anxious about things that were really out of my control. So maybe it's not really a piece of advice. It's just a reflection that I wish I hadn't spent so much energy worrying about things that were just really maybe not that important, or I blew them out of proportion and I made a mountain out of a molehill. So maybe it's not advice, but that's a reflection from my life so far. My whole 33 years that I've been here on this planet is, I wish I'd spent more energy worrying about other things rather than things that I just couldn't really control, I guess.
I love that. Yeah. It's like you said, easier said than done, right? But I do love that. And yeah, I think that's a valuable lesson for everyone. Just, let life happen as it's going to happen and enjoy the ride. And I think I just came across another piece of advice that I would give. I'm thinking more now to like younger people. I don't know, Anna, if you've had this in your life. I think, I'm just about to turn 40 here. I'm turning into an old man. And I've noticed now that I have some old man tendencies and qualities about me. And that is when I hear younger people giving advice now, like people in their 20s, I'm like, what do you know? which is a terrible, terrible attitude to have. And I'm trying not to take it so seriously. But sometimes when I hear younger people talk as if they're an authoritative figure, like they know what they're talking about, I'm like, oh, that's cute. You're so young. But the advice that I was going to say, and of course, I don't want people to take this totally literally, because there are some times when you should not take this advice. But for me, if I were talking to a younger person, thinking back on my experiences and the way that my life has unfolded, I think being open-minded to new experiences and just saying yes to things that initially maybe I find scary has been really, really a good experience for me. So yeah, there are sometimes like you shouldn't be a pushover, right? If people are asking you, can I borrow some money? You shouldn't always say, yeah, of course, no problem. Like that'll probably end up in a bad situation for yourself. But when people invite you to do something, some activity that seems frightening or scary or uncomfortable at first, just being like, yeah, let's see what will happen. Like I've done that a lot in the past where things have scared me or been uncomfortable at first, or I thought, oh, I'm not going to like that. But then you say, yeah, you do it. And then, yeah, it turns out that you actually enjoy it in the end. Or if not, you've learned something new about yourself, or you have like a funny story to tell. So I think maybe that I'm going to take back my previous answer. I'm going to say, try to say yes whenever you can, even if it seems a little bit uncomfortable at first. Like something good might come from it.
Right. I love that. That's great. And you said there, enjoy the ride, which I think is a really nice way to think about it, which leads me nicely into the next question as well, which is something a little bit later now. What is the most beautiful drive you have ever taken in your life? Try to be as descriptive as possible.
Most beautiful drive. Well, in Canada, we have a lot of scenic drives. We got a lot of great long roads. Canada, maybe one of the best countries for having long roads with just nature. And so lots of great scenery. Looking back at when I was younger, one of the most fun road trips that I ever did, looking back on it, to me was a very beautiful experience now, was this tour that I went on with my band when I was younger. And we drove all the way across the country from Montreal to Vancouver, or Victoria, actually, on the west coast of British Columbia, and then back. Did we go back? I can't remember. I may have flown back. I may have ditched the guys and flown back to Montreal. But we did some other tours as well. And yeah, you see the whole country. It's really amazing to see all of the different landscapes and different areas across Canada. You see the Canadian Shield, which is this big wilderness area in Ontario. You see the prairies, and it's just flat for hundreds and thousands of kilometers with no buildings, just farms. And that's really amazing. You go into the Rocky Mountains, and then you go into British Columbia with the rainforest. So you see all of these different areas of nature. And of course, being there with some of my really good friends and playing music every night, it's just a really fun experience. So yeah, I think maybe that would have been one of the most beautiful drives. I don't know if I'd want to do it again, but at the time, it was really great. And I have good memories from it.
Yeah, right. That's what you need. Once is enough. Once is enough. It was amazing, but we'll leave it like that. Let's not go back and repeat it. It's funny, isn't it? Sometimes, I don't know, guys, if you ever have this feeling, sometimes when you do something once and you have this amazing experience, it's like you don't want to do it again because you feel like it's not going to be as good, or maybe it's going to ruin the experience, if that makes sense. I think for me, I remember one specific drive, actually. I don't know why, but it's so vivid in my mind. Me and my partner, we went on a sort of weekend getaway, let's say, somewhere near Madrid. If you're Spanish or you know Spain, there's a city called Avila. And Andrew, it's kind of like an hour or something away from Madrid, which is the capital city. And they have this mountain range, which is called Gredos. So it's like a mountain range and natural park, I think. Maybe I'm getting that wrong. So sorry, guys, if I got that wrong. And I remember that we were returning. So we had driven up to the top of a mountain, and you could see, we had these wonderful views, like looking out over all the mountains. And it was this sunny, cold day in January. And it was just the most beautiful view. I'll never forget it. And then from there, we drove down and we were driving back to Madrid. But there was just something about the drive. We were going through the mountains. The sun was going down. So it was like that dusk. that beautiful, I don't know how to describe it, but there's like a lilac color when the sun starts going down, and it's like this mix between blue and purple. And we had this playlist on, so we were playing this music, and I don't know, I just loved that drive. I was like, I could do that drive every week and it would make me really happy. I wasn't driving, by the way.
I was just going to ask, were you the driver?
I wasn't driving, so maybe that's also why it was more enjoyable for me. My partner was driving, so that was great. So it was just, I don't know, it's just one of those memories I have where I think, oh, it was just amazing. It wasn't even anything particularly special. It wasn't that the scenery was incredible. There was just something about that moment, and I'll never forget it. So that was definitely my favorite drive, or one of the most memorable drives anyway that I've ever had in my life. But I wasn't actually driving, so good for me.
I think you mentioned music there. You had a playlist going. I think for whatever reason, music helps us to remember drives. I can think specifically of some drives that I did when I was a driver, because I haven't driven for a long time now. But when I lived in Canada and I drove, I definitely remember some drives that are connected to music that I was listening to. It's wild. Even when I was in high school. Anna, do you remember before cars had like computers built inside of them and streaming? Now you can just like stream music from your phone or from the internet into your car. But back in the day, we used to have tape cassette decks, or I had like a Discman, a CD player that I would connect to the tape deck with this like blank tape and a wire that would connect to my CD player. Yeah. Do you remember that? Yeah.
Yes. Shout out. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. That's like when I was in high school. When I first started driving, that's how I would listen to music. And I have lots of good memories from that time, listening to music and driving around with this huge CD wallet of CDs. And yeah, good times, good memories.
Yeah, that's actually a good question as well. Like, what was your first car? Because I always find that's a really interesting question. I remember that blank tape with the wire on it, and then plugging it into my old phone or into a CD player. And my first car was like this tiny Renault Clio green, the old style. So it had like the little square lights. I don't know if any of you guys kind of visualize that in your head, but it was kind of a bottle green Renault Clio. And wow, I bombed that car around. I mean, when I say that, guys, what I mean is I was just like driving it really fast. I was so excited. Didn't break the speed limit, just to be clear, but I was kind of bombing around with my little Renault Clio. Thought I was, queen of the world or whatever, just passed my test at 18 after the fourth time that it took me to pass my test. I thought I was, running the world there, but obviously absolutely not. But well, fun times when you first drive. When you first pass your driving test and you start driving, you really think you're like, oh, I've made it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a huge leap in the amount of freedom that you have, right? So yeah, it's awesome for sure.
Okay, well, I'm going to do something related to listening and music, because you brought up music. So I think that gave me a bit of inspiration for this question. If you were completely deaf, and deaf, guys, means that you can't hear, but you were somehow able to hear for 1 hour each month, what would you most often want to hear for that hour? Wow, it's quite a wordy question, but basically asking you, what would you want to hear for 1 hour per month if you were deaf, but you could for 1 hour hear something?
That's a really interesting question. I have no idea what it's like to be deaf, so I can't really imagine. I guess it would also depend like what kind of deafness you have, if it were from birth or if it happened to you later in life. Like if I were to suddenly go deaf tomorrow, I would still have all of the music that I've ever heard in my head, right? So I could replay that and I'd know what I'd want. But if I were deaf from birth, then I'd have less of a playlist going on in my head. Maybe I'm thinking too much, overthinking this. Okay, I have an answer. I would probably choose like what is the hot music from the month, like the newest releases that month, just because that way I'd be able to keep up with pop culture and conversations with other people and know what they're talking about. So I think I'd probably choose like, what's new this month, what's good.
Yeah, that's a really good idea, actually. I think I would probably choose some type of music, I think, as well. Again, we're not clear on whether it's deaf from birth or later in life, but I think music, because I think music just brings happiness and joy. So I would want some of that hour to be music. And then maybe I would have a couple of conversations with people that are close to me, for example, maybe just to kind of tap in and hear their voice again, just for like, I don't know, half an hour, just half an hour. I mean, you know, we don't need to have an hour long conversation, but half an hour, we'll squeeze them in. We'll squeeze them in alongside some nice music as well. I think that will be my answer for that one.
I didn't even think about having a conversation with anyone. I just imagine that I would be using sign language to communicate, and that would be fine. But I guess, yeah, you could maybe put some music on in the background and have a conversation, and then you're 2 for 1-ing it, right?
We're 2 for 1, exactly.
Why not?
Why not?
All right. Well, Anna, I think this is a good place to wrap it up here for now. For the regular episode that will go in our podcast feed, we will keep our conversation going for a little while longer in the ad-free audio version for Culips members, just as a way to say thank you to our member community for their support and to give them a little bit of extra BOCO here. So we'll keep going. But for everyone listening to this episode in the podcast feed, guys, thank you for spending some time here with us today. You've heard our answers to these conversation starter questions that are designed to help you have better conversations and connect with the people around you. Of course, we'd love to hear your answers. So why don't you leave your answers to these questions in our Discord, and we'll continue the conversation there. The link to join our Discord, which is free for everyone to join, by the way, will be in the show notes for this episode. So you can just find it in the description and join us over there on the Discord. So that's it for now, everyone. Please take care, and we'll talk to you again soon in the next brand new Culips episode. Goodbye.
Bye, everyone.